I could feel the sun beating down on me as I hiked deeper into the forest. The warmth was welcome after days of cold and rain, but it also meant that I needed to find a sustainable campsite soon. I had been hiking for hours, with nothing but trees and rocks surrounding me. The tall trees towered over me, casting long shadows on the forest floor. Despite the beauty of nature around me, there was an eerie feeling in the air that made me uneasy. I had always been an avid camper, but this solo trip was testing my limits. I wanted to challenge myself and push myself out of my comfort zone. However, I hadn't anticipated the feeling of being completely and utterly alone in the vastness of the forest. As the sun began to set, my unease turned to fear. I quickly made my way towards it, my heart racing in anticipation of finally having a place to rest for the night. I set up my tent and gathered some firewood before starting a small campfire. The crackling of the fire and the warmth it provided eased my nerves a little. I sat down on a log and took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. I watched as the fire danced, and the shadows it created seemed to take on a life of their own. I shook my head, trying to rid myself of the ridiculous thoughts. It was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I cooked myself a simple meal and ate it quickly, eager to crawl into my sleeping bag and get some rest. But as I settled into my tent, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I tried to brush it off as paranoia and exhaustion catching up with me. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but the rustling of the leaves outside and the hooting of an owl kept me awake. I must have drifted off to sleep at some point because I was jolted awake by a loud cracking sound. My heart was pounding in my chest as I reached for my flashlight and unzipped my tent. I stepped out and shined my light towards the sound. My light fell on a large tree that had split in half. I let out a sigh of relief, reminding myself that this was a natural occurrence. I turned to go back to my tent when I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. I quickly shone the light in that direction, but there was nothing there. I felt the back of my hair stand up and ran a chill down my spine. I brushed it off as my imagination once again and went back inside my tent, forcing myself to fall asleep. The next morning, I decided to explore the surrounding area just a little more before counting on my hike. As I walked deeper into the forest, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every time I turned around, there was no one there, but the feeling persisted, making me uneasy and causing my palms to sweat. Suddenly, I heard the sound of heavy footsteps behind me. I turned around quickly, but there was no one there. The footsteps seemed to gain closer and closer, and I began to pick up my pace. I started to run, my heart racing as I tried to shake off the feeling of being followed. I was so focused on getting away that I didn't see the roots sticking out of the ground. My foot caught on it, and I fell to the ground, my ankle twisting painfully. I let out a cry in pain and clutched my ankle, trying to ease the throbbing pain. But as I looked up, I saw a figure standing in front of me. It was a tall and dark figure, its features hidden in the shadows of the trees. My heart was pounding my chest as I scrambled to get away. But the figure didn't move. It stood there, watching me. I couldn't make out any definitive features, but I could feel its eyes boring into me. I stumbled to my feet and leapt away as fast as I could, my heart racing in fear. But as I looked back, the figure was gone. My mind was playing tricks on me, I told myself. I quickly made my way to the campsite, my ankle throbbing with pain. I packed up my things and decided to cut my trip short. As I hiked back to my car, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being followed. I constantly looked over my shoulder, half expecting to see the dark figure lurking behind a tree. When I finally reached my car, I let out a sigh of relief. I quickly threw my bag in the trunk and got ready to leave. But as I started my car, a figure appeared in my rearview mirror. It was the same figure that had been following me in the forest. Its features were still hidden, but I could feel its cold stare piercing through me. I stepped on the gas and drove away as fast as I could, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched. But every time I glanced in my rearview mirror, the figure was still there. My heart was racing and my hands were shaking as I finally reached the end of the road. As I drove back home, I couldn't get the image of the figure out of my mind. Who or what was it? Was it just my imagination, or was there truly something lurking in the forest? I shuddered at the thought, and vowed to never go camping alone again.